Okay, so this is going to be our second video for our metal dice, and we're going to talk about welding and cleaning up the surfaces after you've welded it, as well as how we're going to mark this up, where we're going to locate the holes, and how we're going to take care of that. So if you've got really heavy welds like this, you can see that right there, and it's kind of hanging over, or it's really heavy here, I'm probably going to go ahead and use an actual grinding disc like this. You can just touch it up with that and get it down close to this surface right here. When you're using this, or even the flap disc, my goal is to just take off just that much and try and keep parallel with my surface here, and where I'm not digging into the surface here or off at an angle. I want to keep that as straight as possible and parallel with this surface as I can, because I really don't want to grind into this flat surface. After you kind of hit those high spots, I would go ahead and use a 40 grit right here. Okay, it should say 40 grit. 80 grit we'll use at the very end to kind of touch things up, make it look really nice. But 40 grit is where you need to be with this. We're touching up the corners, and it should end up something like that. That's what we're looking for. And then we can go ahead and locate our spots where we're going to put our holes and drill, and we'll talk about that in a second. So let's go ahead and just do one, and let's do, yeah, that's a mess right there. Let's do that surface right there. So I'm just going to put this in flat. Make sure you get your face shield on. Let's knock some of this off. One thing to keep in mind, you don't need to press really hard down on this. Keep this nice and light as you go across. Don't just rest it also on that weld. I'm holding this in a nice straight plane as I go across with my body, and not just letting my grinder follow this weld. I don't want to do that, especially like on this one. I just don't want to kind of keep coming up and down. I want to try and keep this as flat as I can with my body as I'm moving this back and forth. Also, another tip, I don't want to keep just welding on one area. I want to do this for about maybe 10 or 15 seconds, and I don't want to put too much heat into it. Then I'll move over to maybe this side, work on that for 10 or 15 seconds. Heat is not your friend when it comes even to grinding. It's going to actually take longer if it heats up too much. You'll know if it's got too hot, you'll get some discoloration, that kind of thing. So take your time, nice light passes. Let's see if we can get this finished up. Okay, so once we've gotten it to this point, we got them pretty level, doesn't need to be perfect. After that, I can switch over to my flap disc, 40 grit, and then we'll touch this up. And again, you want to kind of hold this up a little bit and not be grinding into the surface, but we're just going to keep that 15-degree angle. So let's touch this up now. All right, so on this one, this is pretty flat. I don't want to keep grinding this down because that's where I actually missed that edge of my side here. So if you have something like this, we're going to go hit that with a wire brush, and we're going to fill that in just real light, real nice with another weld, just right in those little cracks right here. This side right here is still a little high, so I can take that down a little bit, but I know the temptation is I'm just going to keep grinding that down. Don't do that, because you're actually taking a lot of this face material away, and we don't want to do that. So let's just touch that up, and we're going to go ahead and fill in the rest in just a little bit, and we'll finish it up. Okay, that looks pretty good. I don't want to go any further than that, so I'm going to fill that in and fill that in. But that's what we want to do on all 6 faces. We want to clean that up, and then we'll do our edge after that. So after we get all our sides flat, that's as far as I want to go. I don't need to go any farther than that. And then we're going to take care of our edge a little bit. You'll notice I've got a little divot right there, and it looks okay. So I'm going to show you just how we kind of rough this in real quick, and kind of just we're just going to put a nice arc to this, and then we're going to leave it alone because we still have to come back. We still have to mark our faces on all 6 sides for the location of those holes. So again, right now it's just getting it smooth, seeing if we have any little craters that we need to still fill in when with some weld, and then just kind of round this corner just a little bit, and then at the very end we'll go ahead and smooth this all out and make it just perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and put this at an angle right here, and I'm going to use my flap disc for this. What I want to do, again, same thing as I was doing at the face. I'm not pushing down on this. I want to maintain a nice plane with my body and not just rest this on my piece and let this determine what my angle is going to be. I want my body to determine keeping this flat, keeping a nice edge on this. So what I want to do is I want to take off a little bit on this edge, probably about 1/8 of an inch, nice flat on here, and then I will round this. So. So that's about right. That's about 1/8 of an inch. I don't need any more than that. Then I'm just going to go ahead and kind of taper this a little bit side to side, okay? That's pretty good. I've got a little porosity right there, so I might have to come back in. I might grind that down a little bit more if I keep seeing porosity as I grind. And so I would actually want to grind this down a little bit more and then go ahead and fill that edge in one more time and get rid of that porosity, because I can't have any porosity in here. That's one of the goals of this project, is to avoid any of that. I still need to go grind this down, but as far as the shape and contour right now, for roughing it, this is going to be perfect right here. So I'm going to do this on all. Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? I should have 10 of these I got to do. So it's going to take a while. I'm going to get 6 sides. Let's undo this. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I got 12, not 10. 12 edges I need to do. So take your time. If you can, if you see you got some holes in here, go ahead and fill those in. If you see we got some, like I said, we got some porosity. Where'd it go? I got some porosity right in here. I'm going to actually grind this down even more and fill that back in. So you might have to go back and forth a few times just to kind of get this tuned up and looking like it should. But that's how it should look before we go ahead and put our marks down on our cube. Okay, so we got our dice all nice and smooth. I still need to fill in these little parts. I want to do this before I actually mark this up. But I'm going to give you a paper. It's going to give you all the measurements for where we're going to locate the holes. And what we want to do and keep in mind is that opposite sides should add up to 11. So if I put a 1 here, that means I need to put a 6 there. If I put a 4 here, that means I have a 3 there. And if I have a 2 there, it means I've got a 5 there. So we have to kind of plan this out. And what we're going to use is this blue dye right here. So you don't need much. Don't need a lot. So for example, if I want to go 1, I'm going to put a 1 there. Let that dry, and then I know I've got to go 6 on this side, so it adds up. So I'm just going to kind of paint that right there. That's all I need. Okay. We're going to pick one side here. Let's do that 2. Let's put a 2 there. Right there, and then we got to add that up to 5. So I want to put, right, maybe 1. Kind of smear it around 2. I don't need to paint the whole thing because it gets kind of a mess. I just want to kind of put it where I know I'm going to put my mark. So we got there. And then we need a 4 right there, approximately. And I don't want to touch the blue stuff because it will stain your hands. So be careful. And then let's go with 3. We're just going to go straight across like that. So this takes about a minute to dry. So while that's drying, let's talk about our measurements. Now on the sheet, and it's not going to be this exact sheet, but it's going to look something like this. You're going to have your measurements as far as where all these holes are located. And basically all we need to really do this is a square here. I'm going to set this, and our cube overall is about 2 1/4. It should add up to about 2 1/4. Yeah, 2 1/4 approximately, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more, but we'll call it 2 1/4 for now. And so I'm going to set this to 9/16 for making these marks. So for example, on the 4 here, what I want to do is I'm going to just lay this right there. Make sure I'm nice and tight to this flat side here. And I'm just going to put a mark there. Okay. And then I'm going to flip it around. I'm going to come here. And I'm going to put a mark there. I'm going to spin it. Make this nice and flat. Scratch in a mark. Okay. Put that flat and scratch in a mark. Okay. So now I have my marks going up and down. Now I have to make them go across. So I'm going to take it and turn it. Take my square. Keep it right there. I'm going to put my mark across right there. Put it nice and flat. Put it right there. Spin it. And right here. And that's barely on, but that'll be fine. And then I'm just going to keep going around this whole thing and put those marks. So if you do have to have one in the center, I'm going to put this at 1 1/8. So I need one in the center for my 3, my 5, and my 1. So for example, my 3, I'm just going to put a scratch there. Spin it 190, not 190, spin it 90. Put a scratch there. So now I have a scratch right there in my center. And then for these, I can just go like this, scratch it. Okay, down here. I like putting it this way because it gives me a bigger surface. So scratch it and scratch it. Okay, so now I've got my 3 marks here. So I'm going to continue doing this all around my cube, right? 3, my 2, my 1, my 6. I did my 4 and my 5. I think that's it. So I'm going to put all those marks all the way around. Next, I actually want to take this over to something nice and hard like a table or the anvil, and I'm going to center punch all of these little marks right here before I drill. So let's go center punch a few of these. Okay, so now that I have these marked, what I'm going to do is grab my center punch, make sure it's sharp. If it's not sharp, go ahead and we can grind this down to a nice point. And I want to locate that right in those crosshair marks that I made. So that's going to go right there. Hold it nice and tight. Give it just one good hit. And that looks pretty good. I'm going to come over here, line that one up. And then I got one more right there and line that one up. And if it doesn't line up exactly, what you can do, let's say I messed it up and it moved over this way. What I can do is get it back in that same hole and kind of go the opposite direction I want to go. And then give that a smack that back the other way to kind of center it up, and that's fine. So I want to do this in all 6 faces where I've made my marks. And again, I haven't marked all of these. This is just an example. But let's say on my 4 right here, all right, I'm going to pick those, center it, one hit, center it. So I'm a little off. I want to come back. That way a little bit. So I'm going to kind of hold that there, put it in a little bit of an angle, and hit it, and that will be good enough. Okay, come back here, right there. Give that a hit, and then one more right here. Okay, so I wanted you to do all 6 sides. We want to center punch it where we have our marks. And now we're going to go over to the drill press and go ahead and drill our holes. Okay, so now that we've got our cube center punched and lined up, we're going to go ahead and drill this out. We're probably going to use a 3/16 bit for all these holes. And what we want to do, if the bit is not in here, we want to open up our chuck here. This is our chuck. We want to open that up. It should be loose if there's nothing in it. If there is something in there, we do have our chuck key. This is our chuck key. So we're going to put that in here in the chuck and then give that a twist to unlock this. We're going to go ahead and feed our bit in. And then by hand, I want to tighten this down a little bit. Just like that. Okay, and then I want to go in all 3 holes, not just one. All 3 holes, give that a twist, turn it, twist it, turn it, twist it. Okay, that's locked in. Put the key on top of the machine. Right here, we're going to turn this on. So I'm going to hit the green button. That's going to turn it on. And then the speed is right here. Right? So on this particular one, we can actually dial in the speed. We can turn this way down, or we can speed it way up. Okay. What we're doing, I like this living around about 800, so that's probably fine, right about there. Anytime we're drilling steel or any of our parts, it has to be clamped down. Now, I don't need this clamped to the table necessarily, but I do want this clamped in the vise. Now, in this particular vise, you can see it's not very flat. I got a bunch of holes in the middle, so I do want a piece of stock just to keep that flat on there. It should be narrower than this, so that's pretty good. I'm going to bring this over, and what we can do is bring up our table. I can actually just bring this down and kind of just locate it before I start, and that's pretty good right there. I like that. Okay, that's good right there. I'm gonna lock this down. In every drill press will have this little bottle, this little green slime. What this is cutting lubricant, so I'm gonna just put a little dollop right there. It keeps it cool and lets our bits last a little bit longer, and it keeps them sharper. So we're gonna go ahead and turn this on. I'm gonna bring this down. We already got that in the right spot. Just nice light pressure and push through. Okay. You also should have a chip brush at each one of these drill presses, so we're just going to sweep that out. Don't use your hands to wipe that off. I'm going to just bring this down. I don't want to drill it, but I want to kind of locate where it's going to go. It looks pretty good, okay? Just squeeze a little bit right there. Just need a little bit, not a lot. We're going to go ahead and just kind of hold this there. Nice, even pressure. I'm not forcing this through. Take your time. If you get a big chip coming off, just lift it up. That will break that chip out all the way through. Clean it off. Come over. Let's move this handle out of the way. We're going to put that here. Put a little drop. Again, we just need a little bit right there. Bring that down. Actually, before I do that, I should have located that, right? So let's take that off. If you make a mistake, right, get it where you want it. Should locate that hole a little bit. You'll kind of feel where it's lined up or not. A little bit. Right there. Make your hole again. And we're just going to keep making our way all the way around. There's a third one. And if you're, go ahead, you can even go like halfway if you need to. You can actually put a little more in there halfway through and keep that tip nice and cool. Okay, for my fourth one, I want to bring it over. Locate the hole. I'm not quite there. Just give it a little tap. Okay, that looks pretty good. I like where that's located. Again, a little bit of fluid. Not much. Bring it through. Again, nice light pressure. Keep it consistent. Lift it up to break the chips off. See those breaking off. Okay. As you flip this over, I want you to turn this off. You don't need to turn it off when you're doing one side, but as you move this around, going to your different sides, get your chips off the vise, get those out of the way, all right? Get it to your holes, line them up on all 6 sides, and you want to drill all those holes. After we drill those, we're actually going to countersink these a little bit, and we'll set up another drill press. So let's go do that one. Okay, so we're going to use the mill here for doing some tape or some countersinking with our tapered bit. Tapered bit should already be in here, so I'm just going to drop this into the jaw here, and there should be a 3/4 inch wrench just hanging out right here. So we want to just put this to one side, nice flat spot, and then we're going to go ahead and tighten this down. And then to locate where the bit goes, what we can do is bring the quill, this is called the quill arm right here, we can bring this down, get it close to where we want it, and then we're going to turn these handles for going right and left, and this handle down here to bring this forward and back. So I want to get this located. I can bring that down pretty close, get that lined up with my hole. So I want to go right about there, Looks good. And I'm going to look at it from this side. Line that up. That looks good right there. So that's good to go. Bring it up. I'm going to put a little bit of lubricant right on there. And then I'll help you out. We actually have stops on here, so this we can actually set this so it only goes down so far, and you get a nice consistent amount of material you're taking off every single time. So I'll help you out with this, getting that dialed in. We're going to turn this knob to reverse. We're going to bring our quill down. I'm going to bring this up quite a ways, so don't go too far. Looks pretty good right there. And that way I am only taking off or going a certain depth. Go a little bit more. Adjust it down until you get a depth you like. That's pretty good. Go ahead and turn it off. I'm going to adjust this till I get it just right. I want it right about there, that way, and then I'm going to look at it this way. Bring the quill down a little bit more till I have that located. That looks pretty good. Do not try and move this with the bit down. You're going to snap off the tip of the bit. So I'm going to bring the quill up. Go ahead and put a little lubricant on there again. Turn it on. Nice even pressure. Let the bit do the work, but don't force it. Okay. Shut her off. And bring it over to the left some more. Bring it forward to my next mark. Bring it down a little bit to locate it. That looks good there. And we look good there. Okay, so we check it. Make sure you're lined up. Do it one more time on this side. Wait till the machine stops before you want to disconnect anything or unscrew anything. We're going to go ahead and wipe those chips off. Just take your brush, and you can see right there we've got nice consistent holes all the way around. That's what we want it to look like. So we're just going to continue to take it out, flip it to our next side, drill the hole, next side, drill the hole, next side, drill the hole, until you have all 6. So we have all our holes drilled here, and now it's time just to kind of touch this up, clean it up, and we're going to use a 80 grit disc. It should have 80 written right here, and that's going to give us a nice clean look and get all our blue stuff off and all the little scratch marks we've got. So let's go ahead and touch this up. It doesn't take much. We're just going to nice and light move our flap disc along here and just touch it up on all 6 sides, and then we'll hit our corners next. So let's touch up at least one side here. And it's a little hard to see on camera, but I want to try and make sure I get all the kind of heavy scratches out that I left from the 40 grit. That's where you want to go down to. As soon as you get all the heavy scratches out, you want to go ahead and stop. Again, just nice light pressure. I'm not pushing down on this real hard. We're going to keep working on it, especially like right in here. Just be aware as you do this, especially on a face I just ground, when I put it against these jaws, don't clamp it too tight because the jaw marks will make an indent in where you just ground that down. So just take your time and not a whole lot of pressure. So let's touch this up. And get rid of our scratches, got rid of that blue, and that's perfect. So we're gonna do that again on all 6 sides. So once I have all 6 sides done, I'm gonna go ahead and just rotate that right there, kind of pop that up on that corner. It looks good, and then we're gonna take care of that all our corners. So let's touch this up now. Okay, so this is how it should look when you're done, right? Our holes are lined up properly. These are all countersunk, the same amount. They don't have any variation in there. These are all in a nice line. I do right here. I'm not going to get a very good grade because I still have a little spot like right there. I still need to fill in. And that porosity that was on here, I don't see any more. I just maybe needed to grind down a little farther. Try and you want to kind of round these as best you can. Try and keep it nice and consistent, and then I'll help you with the corners, trying to get that sharp corner off. And that's kind of the toughest part of this, is making sure we don't have any sharp corners right there. So come see me if you need some help with that. But otherwise, this is how it should look when you're done, right? Get all of the holes drilled in the right spot, right location, nice and smooth. It's ready to go. So once you have one done, you're going to go get your steel for your second one and make a second pair of dice, and then we'll turn them in to be graded. Good luck, everybody. Let me know if you have any questions.